Hey everybody, we're going to talk today about cultivating head, heart, and home. So that's kind of what we do with Thinking, Feeling, Willing. But I want to go through sort of, the things that we talked about in the videos and why I think it's so important and why I think that really and truly, if you can get on this road and really dive in, it will change your life. And we really have, we've been working with families for a long time. I've been working with families even before I ran Waldorf Essentials, which used to be called A Little Garden Flower years ago. Even before then, so before Eric and I married. So I started working with families when my oldest was about 8. And so I had 8, 6, and 4 were the ages of my big 3. And I was a single mom, and I had been writing things for myself because back then, guys, there was Oak Meadow and there was Live Ed. And that was even before Christophorus really started anything. So I had Eric Fairman's guides, and I love Eric Fairman. He actually, I know him. He's not like I know him, like he's my bestie or anything like that. But he and I have exchanged many emails over the years, and he wrote the foreword in our grade 1 book. So, I had the support of a Waldorf teacher, and he gave me all this encouragement. And back then there was no, I don't think there was Facebook then. That was like 100 years ago, you guys. There was no Facebook, and everything was email. And he was very responsive. And when I started writing things for my own kids, people wanted to hear what I had to say because I had really been studying. When I got divorced, I threw myself into inner work and into studying what I loved. And I really loved Waldorf education. And even though there's a part of Steiner that I'm like, that's not right. It was so fascinating that I studied and studied and studied, which I know is a weird thing because people say, what novels are you reading? I'm like, I don't think A Child's Changing Consciousness qualifies as a novel. But I dug into all of this stuff, and I was in a point in my life where I didn't have, I had 3 kids and I was a single mom. So I had that piece, but I didn't have a ton of outside obligations otherwise. My ex-husband made a lot of money. So, when I was a single mom, I wouldn't say like well taken care of, but I didn't have to stress so much. I lived in one of the lowest economic places in the United States at the time. So what came in was very much it took care of me. And it wasn't until I decided, I want something more. He's kind of cranky. I don't want to always have to rely on him, that I really started building from there. So, I had been studying a lot of Steiner, and I started working with moms. And then it was just like emails back and forth. I was back in the days of Yahoo groups, if y'all remember that. Some of us still have some Yahoo groups, but like 1,000 years ago. So I just started building up from there. When I remarried, and Eric was actually, so he has a degree in film and a degree in journalism. And he was working on getting a degree in education. And I fixed him from that. What was funny was when we first started dating, he was taking this class on like education theory and educational methods. And so he was trying to pick my brain about different, methods. And he knew that I was like way into this. Like that was the deal breaker. Like I thought, if you can't handle that I homeschool and this is what I'm into, sorry, see you later. But he was all into it. And so he did this paper. He got like a D, but he did this paper on comparing, it seems like he was comparing Steiner, Charlotte Mason, and then some other traditional method. And he got like a D. And my husband's a good student. So it's really kind of funny that, that he was like, okay, I don't have time for that. And so he was a newspaper reporter. He continued to be a newspaper reporter until about 1.5 years into our marriage when he came home to work with us. So about when I was pregnant with Samuel, and he's almost 13, so about 13 years ago, I really started doing more. I put together, I bought my first URL, and it was called A Little Garden Flower at the time. And at the time it was just like a blog, and it just had a few things on it. I didn't really have anything for sale. I was doing some consults here and there, but I was charging like $15 an hour. But it was small, and it was tiny, and it was enough. It kept me going. It kept me really wanting to learn more. And then after when Sam was about 9 months old, I decided I wanted to write the very first kindergarten curriculum, which is very different than the kindergarten curriculum is now. It was more of a guide, and it sold like gangbusters. And so let's see, it was about 12 years ago. And so what we did from there is we thought, okay, there is a need in the community, not just for curriculum, but for curriculum written by a homeschooler who actually walks it, who's been there like the whole time. I think that definitely some of the other writers have homeschooled at times, but I homeschooled the whole way. And I think that really sets us apart, because I understand you and I understand your struggles. So when I talk about cultivating head, heart, and home, I'm talking about being able to walk the same walk you walk. And so we have 5 children, and right now we only have 2 at home, which is very odd because our life was so full and so busy and so crazy for so long. Now it feels really strange, but good strange for sure. So, when I say, let's talk about like who you are and how you show up and your inner work pieces with regards to temperament, it really is so that you can hone yourself and understand everybody around you. And when you do those, just that one piece out of the 3 that we're going to talk about today, but just that one piece helps you so much. So if you watch the video series and you're brand new to us, I definitely want you to hop over to waldorfessentials.com, and in the resources section, we have a document called Temperament Parenting. And that will help you if you're still struggling trying to figure out which temperament you are. I want you to know that understanding temperament is a lifelong pursuit. It doesn't change over time, but you understand more over time. What I say about temperament is it's a game changer. I truly, truly believe that temperament is attached to your soul. Now, again, this is like the gospel according to Melisa, the Waldorf gospel according to Melisa. I believe that it's attached to your soul. Steiner believed that it was very much attached to you in a deep way too. And what I find is that it sits lower. So people ask me all the time, well, what about Myers-Briggs? Like tell me about like, how does that go in with Myers-Briggs or with temperament, personality types? And I actually really believe that it sits kind of in this lower place. So I feel like temperament sits here, and because it belongs to our soul, and these other pieces sort of belong to this body that we carry around. So, I have this strong belief that we are spiritual beings on a human journey, and that's not from a religious place. I mean, yes, I am religious, but definitely not thinking that anybody needs to be on the same walk that I am. Just sort of saying that this is where I believe that those come together. So I feel like temperament sits here, and all those other things sort of sit on top. And they integrate. I mean, they integrate often, and you can see some very beautiful things. But I would love to see a chart, and it may be off the wall crazy, but I would love to see a chart that showed different temperaments and then overlay Myers-Briggs on top of it, because I think that you would see some very interesting things. Just because temperament really informs how we show up always. Take the time to really understand your temperament, to study it. The more you study it, the more you will find that you'll understand more. It will deepen for you. You will really find yourself seeing things in other people, and it will trigger like, okay, well, I thought we were alike and we are not at all alike, that kind of thing. I had this great chat with my son just before I came live, and we were talking about his dad and his grandma. And he is from my first marriage. And we were just talking about how they were the same, but how they were different. And that's because one is a phlegmatic with a melancholy side, and the other is a melancholy with a phlegmatic side. So they have a lot of threads that are very much the same. This fear of change, dreading change kind of thing, glasses half empty kind of place. But they also have some pieces that, are amazing, generally a lot of empathy, really wanting the best for people for the most part. So I think that truly the best way to study temperament is to study yourself and then start looking at those around you. Remember with children that you will not have a full knowledge of their temperament until they get older. So I saw two of my children both have a strong melancholy streak, both have a strong sanguine streak. One was sanguine with a touch of melancholy, while the other one was melancholy with a touch of sanguine. And when they're teenagers, they flipped. So now I've got one that's more sanguine with a touch of melancholy and one that's definitely more melancholy with a touch of sanguine. So you want to just sort of watch that as it unfolds. Puberty does things, we all know. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know what hormones do to us as adults. So those hormones, as they start to really develop in them, they're going to do some interesting things to them, and it will really help bring out what's already down there, deep down in there. So you will see it coming out more. So let me grab a couple more comments. It's easier for me to figure out others' temperaments than my own. It's hard accepting my faults. It is. A lot of people, what's really funny is people will say to me, I really don't want to be a choleric. I really don't want to be a melancholy. And I go, sweetie, what you want is immaterial. The best thing you could do is own it and balance. When you own it and you balance, things are so beautiful in your life. Because when you own it, you can own the space of, gosh, it's okay for me to be sad. Even though there are people around me, they're like, cheer up. It's okay for me to have this sad place as long as I don't stay camped here, because that's the balance part, right? And if you're choleric and you just really like to dominate and get things done, hey, I'm with you, sister. I'm the boss lady with you. You are a check the box kind of gal. And when you see those check boxes, I bullet journal, and every week I love to see all the check boxes that are done. That is just a little bit about me. I think that when you are in that space, own it. It's okay, because it's like you have to own you're weird. You have to own that space that you are. And when you do, you show up so much better. When you are worried about your own temperament, you don't show up the way you want to. If I had not discovered you and Thinking, Feeling, Willing, I would not have the confidence in the tools to homeschool my daughter. I had become a better parent, and my marriages also began to run smoother. You helped me. Let's see. Sorry. Hold on. You helped my husband and I land on the same parenting page. You know what? I wish I could just give you a hug. I know you're a county away, but I hope you can feel my love, Christina. We are forever grateful and consider myself a perpetual student. That's really, where we have to be. I talked when we opened Thinking, Feeling, Willing last time, I talked about this, like knowing thyself. And I gave an analogy that I think I'm going to go ahead and give again really quick. There's this, and I'm going to butcher part of the story, so forgive me, but there's this wise man, and people are always coming to him to get more information. And one guy came to him, and he was like, I'm here, things are going bad, really, but I've done everything, nothing works. And as he's saying that, the wise man is like pouring a cup of tea, and he's going on and on and on and on and on about everything that he's tried and how nothing is working. And the tea is like overflowing, and the guy's like, wait, stop. What are you doing? You're overflowing my cup of tea. And the wise man said, the full cup doesn't have any room for anything else. You have to empty your cup out and be ready to learn in order for this to really work for you. And, I often am faced with moms that are like, I have tried everything with rhythm. Rhythm just doesn't work for me. But then when I go, so talk to me about why you didn't feel safe to have rhythm in your childhood. They're like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. So I just have to laugh and say, you have to be ready to jump in and look at all the ugly. And you don't have to look at it all at once because it can be scary. I totally get it. It takes time. You know, some of our Thinking, Feeling, Willing members I've been working with since the beginning. So the program started 7 years ago. We started writing curriculum when Sam was little, a baby, and Eric came home and started working with us. And there was a need for more and more. Like, I kept thinking, I wish I could put all of the knowledge that I have from all the years of doing it in one place. And we went around and around for a long time, probably because the technology wasn't there. I've always been like wanting to do things, and Eric's like, there's no tech for that. So I have had to wait. But now is this amazing time. Over the last 7 years, our program has grown from being on a blog that had a password on it to, like, I just built the 4th membership site. Y'all, I wanted to throw up on Monday, but I got it done. We've spent all of this time, and as technology's gotten better, we've gotten better. As tech has gotten easier, that we've been able to implement things. And I wanted a place where I could bring everything that I know. And now it's not just what I know. We have these leaders, and we have these amazing families that are part of our community. And so we are all sharing together, and it's a beautiful place to be. We have some amazing people. So, all right, back to inner work. So once you have this inner work piece start to sort out, then you understand yourself with regards to rhythm. If you are really struggling with rhythm, then there's probably a place in your past where rhythm has not been safe for you. And, you know, maybe you struggled, maybe you had a childhood that was less than stellar. Maybe you, which, you know, I have to tell you, lots of us did, but it's all good. It's all good. I think that if you can sort out that piece of why rhythm doesn't feel safe to you, then you can sort out this piece of, well, how can I make it feel safe for my kids? Children need rhythm. It's just, Eric and I are also parenting coaches, and we coach a lot of people that aren't in the Waldorf movement. And we talk about this, like, the fact that most parents are the cause of their kids' bad behavior. And as funny as it sounds, in fact, we did a workshop a while back called Straight Talk About Your Kids' Bad Behavior, and it's about rhythm. It's about rhythm. It's about how you show up. It's about how you are ready to face your children. It's about your relationship with your partner. That's what's going on with your kids. Your kids soak it all up, all of it, the good and the bad. And Elizabeth says it's so hard to break the cycle. It can be, yes. But I think the biggest thing is once you realize it's a cycle, once you tell yourself, okay, this is why I've been struggling with rhythm. I've been struggling with rhythm. I've got this piece in my past that I just need to sort out, but I don't have to be my past. I don't have to be the 8-year-old that was abused. I don't have to be the 10-year-old that was ignored. I don't have to be the kid that was pushed so hard. I don't have to be that person. I can step away from that. I can retrain my subconscious to be in a better place by doing lots of little things. We talk a lot about this in Thinking, Feeling, Willing. We work on, being in a good place, inner work-wise, just mine. You know, the subconscious is responsible for 95% of what we do every day. And so when we try to put something in there like willpower and we go, oh no, I'm going to will it to death. Often what happens is it's great for a couple of days, but then it's so hard because the subconscious is like, no, I have to protect you. You're uncomfortable. Come over here and just sit on the couch or sleep in. Stay up too late. You know, I have to protect you. I want to make sure you're happy and comfortable. So don't you want to sleep until you wake up? That's what the subconscious does. And we go, oh yeah, it's too hard. I'm just going to do this instead. So like breaking those habits and breaking that cycle is like noticing that it's a cycle is the first piece. You know, once you notice it and you can really feel yourself dive into being ready to dive into that next space, then you're making progress. So understanding yourself, really honing in on rhythm. So secrets about rhythm. Do the actual rhythm chart. For those of you who have been working with me forever, you know that's the first thing I say. When was the last time you did your actual rhythm chart? And then I'll also ask, how's media in your house and how's movement in your house? Like, are you moving? Are you moving your body? Are you getting out and going for walks every day? Are you getting those kids moving? That's something that, like, it has to happen, because otherwise things fall apart. If you've got kids that are tantruming, you know, several times a day, you have to step back and go, when was the last time they went for a good long walk? And when I say good long walk, I mean it. So Soraya is, sorry, it's loud right now all of a sudden. Soraya is almost 8. She'll be 8 on Monday. I can't believe she's gonna be 8 on Monday. So crazy. It's bittersweet. She's my last. Very bittersweet. But so she's gonna be 8 on Monday. Since she was 4, so for the last 4 years, got me? She's walked at least 3 miles a day. So why? Well, a couple of reasons. One, she's got some sensory stuff going on. She's very sensory seeking, and I definitely think she's got some ADD. She's got some letters going on there. And that helps a ton. And 2, because they need it. They need the movement. I have moms that will say to me, oh, well, they play out in the backyard. That's not enough. I don't care if you live on a country dirt road, map out a mile or half a mile, walk to it and walk back 2 or 3 times a day. We do it first thing in the morning, like after breakfast, and like before lessons. And then we generally do it again after quiet time in the afternoon, and generally have one right around dinner or after dinner, before bed. Often, especially in the summer, she'll put on pajamas and we'll go for a walk in her PJs. So I want you to get in the habit of asking yourself these questions. When, especially, because often it's dad that's like, why are these kids so crazy? You've been with them all day. What did you do to them? Oh my goodness. That's when you go, well, honey, turn off the TV and let's go for a walk. Kids act based on what's going on around them. They act based on how you show up and what you've got going on. So you definitely want a good rhythm in place, but definitely you want to keep track of your actual first. Keeping track of your actual rhythm will help you, you know, as you keep track of it, it will show you where your natural rhythm actually is. So don't try to keep it. If you're starting bare bones, don't try to keep something up. Just track your actual. And then look at it and go, oh, well, it looks like there's a tantrum going on here in the afternoon. There's one going on here in the morning. Like, and then you can sort of get a sense for, there needs to be a walk there. There needs to be some snacks here. You know, if you turn on the TV every day at 3 o'clock because everybody's tired, like, look at all of those things that are going on. And you can only do that when you see the actual rhythm. I promise you, you are not spending your time the way you think you are. I do this myself a couple of times a year. I will pull out especially when it feels like all wonky. I will pull out the actual rhythm chart and go through and do it for a week, and then look at it and go, oh, okay, looks like I'm working longer than I think I am. You know, it's definitely because I like to do all the things. I tend to overschedule myself. And so, you know, looking at the actual rhythm chart tells me whether or not I am doing what I think I am. And most of the time I'm not. Like in my head, sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna knit for 30 minutes a day. And what ends up happening is I look at the end of the week and I go, man, I only knitted twice this week. That's not really what I want. I really want to be able to knit every day because it calms me down. So if knitting's not your thing, if knitting frustrates you, don't use that as your calm thing. But for me, it really calms me down. And it keeps me in a good place. That's how I beat the wanting to watch the TV in the afternoon. Is I go, oh, I'm just gonna grab my knitting needles and I might put on a podcast if kids are having quiet time, or we'll listen to Sparkle Story. You've got your rhythm. Hopefully you understand what you're doing. The next piece is planning. So, and planning is the one where a lot of people go like, I'm out of here. I don't want to talk to you about planning. Or they'll say, I don't understand why I can't get my planning down right. I'm really struggling with this. This is things, I always feel like I'm behind. Things are not going like they should. How do I get this planning piece in place? And so most people do the big parts, but I have a few extra little things that I do in there. So one, when you start to do your planning, which if you have not started, if you're waiting for us in Planning for Peace, my Planning for Peace copies should be here tomorrow. So then I will be doing another video talking about that. Planning for Peace is also part of Thinking, Feeling, Willing. It's in Mom Lesson 6. Planning for Peace is a journal that I put together based on my successful years of homeschooling 5 children and exactly the plan that I put in place every year. And so that starts with, first, we're doing overall year planning. So that's when you get your calendar out. That's when you message your mother-in-law and say, what days are you coming again? You look at when Dad's got vacation if he's working outside of the home. You look at birthdays. You look at if you celebrate the moons. You'll look at that. If you, like we live in San Diego and we live about 2.5 blocks from the beach. So we are at the tide pools a lot. So I have the tidal calendar with me when I'm doing this planning. So when I lay it out, I do a block for each month. You can fold a big piece of paper. That's how I did it for years and years. It doesn't matter how you do it. A block for each month. So then you label your blocks, whatever month you're starting school with. So if it's September, August, whatever. And you do a block for each month. And then you transfer all that information into those blocks. Dad's birthday, your birthday, kids' birthdays, grandma's birthday if you celebrate it, all the holidays that you celebrate, anytime you're going to be on vacation. The idea with this big overall piece, first is that you see anything that will interrupt school. Anything. That's one key piece. There's 2 key pieces I'm going to talk about, but that's one key piece that people don't do up front. They sit down and they plan on their blocks and they think they're all great, but then they go, wait a minute, I didn't even think about the fact that we're going to be gone for 3 weeks in October. Well, why not? It's on that big sheet where you start everything out. So I put all of that information there. And then once you've got that piece together, then you go deeper. Big picture. So you've got all those big picture things in place. From there, then you can start discussing what blocks you're going to do and where you're going to put them. So it doesn't make any sense to do a botany block in December unless you live on the other end of the world. If you live in the Southern Hemisphere, it makes perfect sense. It does not make any sense to do that in the United States or in the Northern Hemisphere. So you would want to put those blocks where it makes sense. And by laying them out and looking at the big picture, you can get a sense for, maybe you're going to be on vacation in Rome. That'd be awesome. And you can go see some things that go in with that Roman history block. Or, maybe you're going to be in a place where there's a lot of botanical gardens and you want to make sure that hits up with that botany block. Or maybe you're going to be in Europe where in the town of Bremen during, some of your grade 1 blocks. So think about that. When you're looking at the overall, think about anything that you can do that will enhance that block. And part of it is placement. There are very few blocks, with the exception of the history ones, that can't be moved around. So I move around a history block. I don't move the history blocks just because you can move them, but you should make sure they're sequential. You wouldn't want to have them all backwards. So there's that. Once you have this big piece done, then you go to the next piece. The next piece is planning your blocks, writing out what you want to do in your blocks, all of that. And we have all of this in the Planning for Peace journal. Again, it's Mom Lesson 6 in Thinking, Feeling, Willing. You can also buy Planning for Peace separately. After you've done this block plan, then here's the part that y'all forget. And this took me a lot of years to hone. After you have the block laid out, even if you have a curriculum that is open and go, more like ours, where you don't have so much planning, you still have to do this next step. Write your daily plan out to the letter. Everything that you're going to do in that lesson, everything from the books that they're reading for free reading, to the music lesson that you're teaching, to the verses you're going to do, to what time you're planning to start, to the page number in the curriculum you need to go to, everything. And then you've got to get your prop drawings done. So if you're doing prop drawings, so in Waldorf we do the drawing, or the art portion is part of the main lesson. And so if you're doing coloring with block crayon or block crayon drawing for your main lesson, you need to do it first so that you can see where you're going to struggle, so that your children can see where that struggle is going to be. You don't want to step in there and not have it down, because that's when you are met with resistance. So you want to have that daily plan honed. Now, if you're brand new to Waldorf and you watched our video series and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, I'll hold your hand through all that. No big deal. I just want to make sure that you all hear me when I say the daily plan is where it's at. The daily plan is where you lose people. The daily plan is where you get kids that don't want to listen and things that fall apart. You don't want that to happen. So you want your daily plan to be tight. So if this is a problem for you in your planning, you need to make sure that you are active in working to overcome that. So some tips about temperament and planning. A choleric child will only yield to another choleric that they trust. So if you are not choleric, that's okay. But you have to meet them where they are. So your choleric child is showing up ready for school, and if you are not ready, your credibility is gone, Mom. So if you've had this struggle in the past, absolutely you can mend it, but you only mend it by learning how to show up better. If you've got a sanguine child who wants things to be moving fast and you don't have your stuff planned out, guess what? You're going to lose them too. They're going to be off playing Legos or asking you to watch TV. You have kids that are asking you to watch TV in the morning when you should be doing school. That should be a lesson to you as to how your planning is and how your rhythm is going. If you keep children engaged, they're not going to ask for that. You just got to keep them engaged. You got to keep them engaged, and you got to get your rhythm going straight. That doesn't mean you're always, always, always moving, but rhythm flows like a river. There's not blocks thrown in it to dam it up. And sometimes we're the blocks. So we have to stop being the blocks to the rhythm. So if you are struggling with having kids that are ready to learn, now I'm not talking about, I've talked in our podcast in the past, in our videos in the past, my dear boy, who's now 20, and I love him to pieces, he's the one that I just talked to before I got on here. Every morning, he would walk downstairs and say, do we have to do school today? Every morning. That's different than the child who's like, I'm not listening to you because you don't know your stuff. There's a big difference. I would say, of course we're doing school. Come here. I love you. And yes, I would get tired of it because I'm choleric and I'm like, duh, we're doing school. What's wrong with you? That's not how I want to show up to him. I'm sure I showed up to him that way many times in my parenting with him. Just ask. But he has forgiven me. We all have to, it's all in how we're ready to show up and how much sleep we've had and all of that great stuff. I'm not asking that everybody be a perfect parent all the time. I'm definitely not a perfect parent every time. But you want to at least know your weaknesses. So having a child that's like, and we have to do school today, that's different from a child that's like, no, I'm not listening to you. Or I don't want to do that. Or I love this one. I know. I'm like, you don't know. You don't know. So why don't you just sit down here and let me tell you? So you want to be sure that you are ready to tell them. You want to be sure that you are ready to give them the lesson. I would rather have you bug off and go to the park and get your lesson straight for tomorrow than have you give a lesson that's halfway, because you will not feel good about it. Now, I've definitely had days where I'm like, we're just reading today, grab the Narnia book, I'm just going to read out loud, we're just going to relax. There's definitely days like that. And you want to build enough breaks into your plan so that you can have days like that where you don't feel guilty and feeling like you're behind. So that's the last piece I want to talk about with regards to planning. You want to make sure you take plenty of breaks. Breaks are essential. So in fact, I want you to write that down. I don't care where you are. I want you to write it down. If you are on your phone, pull up your notes app and type it in your notes. You need to take plenty of breaks. Breaks are this golden thread that keeps your sanity and also helps you not get burned out. You definitely need to keep your breaks. So I take about every 10th day off. Now people go, holy cow, how do you do that? Well, I don't take any of the district holidays the way the district has them. So, and yes, there are definitely times when we take less time off than others. But it tends to be about every 10th day, sometimes every 14th day, depending on how busy we are. And if we're in a lesson block that feels really good and things are flowing well and nobody feels like they need a break. By taking those every 10th day off or so preventatively, then I am not messing with kids that are burned out and need a break, me that's burned out and needs a break. On that 10th day off, I do nothing with regards to school. We often, I'll be frank with you, I live in Southern California. On that 10th day off, you're either gonna find me at the beach or Disneyland. We play really hard on that 10th day off. We have a lot of fun. And so because we look forward to those times of taking it off, that makes us work even harder when we are not taking it off. So on those other days, those other 9 days, everybody's bringing it. Everybody, and like all the temperaments are ready to go because they know, hey, next Tuesday, we're going to Disneyland. Like that, it's like they're excited. And they also are really generally excited because we often will go to the beach in the afternoons or, doing other fun things in the afternoons. They have this huge incentive to get school done and they're ready to work because I'm ready to teach. So you've got to decide, do I want this? And if I do, am I ready to teach? So that means you got to get your plan in place. So those 3 things are just this much of what we teach in Thinking, Feeling, Willing. You want. You look at the recommendations for your child's age, and then you can create something. If it's not already created, you can create something for just you. It's amazing. That's what homeschooling is all about. Homeschooling is about diving into your child. And what I love as a mom of 5 kids is every single one of them is different. So I can tailor it to the child, to their temperament, to what it is that they need. You can't do that in any other situation. Be able to really hone what you want in your life. We didn't make it happen just by wishing it. We made it happen by doing each one of the steps into place. And I teach you all of that. So I would say Thinking, Feeling, Willing is mentoring, education and training for yourself for homeschooling with Waldorf, curriculum. It's also a really good dose of positivity and learning how to be a self-actualized person and learning how to be an agent for yourself. That's what you need. If you have any questions, please drop me a message. Hope to see you all in Thinking, Feeling, Willing. Bye.